learned in the last lesson about the importance of your phone personality. A key element of that personality is confidence. In an interview, confidence is one of the key elements. Remember from previous lessons that confidence is made up of different components, such as attitude, appearance, gestures, and choice of words. All these are reflected in your speech and in your voice. You might want to go back to the modules in the second course and review the materials on strengthening your speaking voice. And of course, before your phone interview, you can practice one of the power poses you learned about earlier. I personally like the victory pose. Just hold that for 2 minutes before your scheduled interview, and it will put you in the right frame of mind. This brings up an additional point. You should insist that your phone interview is scheduled. This is completely normal. Most organizations will schedule you through an app like You Can Book Me or another scheduling app. Knowing when the call will take place will help you to prepare your space and make sure to find out whether you should call in or whether you will be called. If the interviewer is the one calling you, and that is typical, then Paul Bilo, CEO of Phone Interview Pro and author of the Essential Phone Interview Handbook, recommends you follow the 15-minute phone interview rule. If your interviewer was scheduled to call at 1 p.m. and at 1:15 he has still not called, you have waited long enough for your scheduled phone interview. Do not answer the phone if the interviewer calls more than 15 minutes later than scheduled. Why? Your time is valuable. You do not have time to sit around waiting for a phone call. If you answer the phone at 1:30 p.m. when the interviewer finally calls, it appears you have been waiting around all afternoon for the call. This gives the impression that you have nothing else to do. You appear too readily available. So how do you handle the situation? When the interviewer calls, let him or her leave a message. Then wait an hour and call back. Say something like, "Hello, Mr. Smith. I'm sorry I missed your call. I understood we were going to begin our phone conversation at 1 o'clock, but when it reached 1:15, I assumed something had come up and I took an international call. Unfortunately, I'm booked for this afternoon, but I would be interested in rescheduling our phone interview. When is good for you?" You do not want to criticize Mr. Smith about being late, but you do want to let him know you were prepared at the scheduled time. However, you are also an individual whose time is in demand. You have other responsibilities. Make your interviewer believe you are a driven, goal-based individual by handling late calls with proper phone interview etiquette. That alone communicates that you have confidence in your self-worth. Let's hear next from John. He is here to talk through some tips he uses for speaking with confidence in a phone interview. Hi, John. Thanks for joining us again. So tell us, what's one of the most useful tips you can give us?
Sure. So the absolute first thing is that you're prepared. You've scheduled the interview at a good time. You got a good night's sleep and warmed up your voice. And you've made sure you've had a light meal a couple of hours ahead of time.
Yes, preparation before performance.
Exactly. What I'd recommend next is to dress appropriately. Even though the interview is on the phone, dressing professionally for the occasion helps you prepare mentally for the task. You may even want to put on some light perfume or cologne that you wear on your usual workday. Believe me, it does boost your confidence. A person who feels professional sounds professional.
That's right. An interviewer can hear it in your voice if you're confident or not. So dressing professionally will help you feel that confidence.
Yep, you got it. The next tip I'd recommend is to prepare your space beforehand. What does this mean? Find a quiet place in your home where you can take the phone without disruptions. Think of the space as a professional meeting room. Be sure there's proper light, no noise disruption, and no distracting materials. You would not find a pile of laundry or a barking dog in an office setting, right? Once you have identified the best space, be sure to organize your materials. Have your CV, application, pens, papers, and questions laid out in front of you. You want to know exactly where everything is to be quick and flexible during the interview, and this will boost your confidence.
So put yourself in a professional frame of mind and in a professional setting.
Exactly.
Okay, John, what else?
Pay attention to your body language. Don't let yourself close up into a low power pose. Everyone has different phone habits. Some people pace and others sit still as a statue. Find middle ground, but pay attention to your interview body language. Hold your body in an upright position and don't be afraid to use your hands to be expressive. If you like to move when you're on the phone, give yourself a space that is large enough so you avoid wandering from room to room.
That's a good point. A low power pose can rob you of energy. What's your next tip, John?
Be sure to smile on the phone. Smiling affects your overall attitude and transfers onto your pitch and overall tone of voice. Also, it helps you sound energetic and enthusiastic, both of which will help convey confidence and strength. One trick that I use is to look at a photograph of the interviewer and smile at it. If I can't find a picture of the interviewer, I'll use a picture that I enjoy looking at. Something that prompts me to smile. That helps me sound like a winner.
That's great. I want to emphasize that last point. Interviewers are looking for someone who is confident and sounds like a winner. You want him or her to feel that right away.
Absolutely. Remember that first impressions really do count. Hiring managers can determine your personality within a minute of talking to you. Your voice carries your phone personality, but on the phone, your voice actually loses about half of its energy during transmission. Make sure your enthusiasm gets across by overcompensating.
Since no one can see you, you can pretend you're on a daily soap and overact.
Yeah, that's right, Daniela. To go along with projecting enthusiasm and sounding confident, though, is my next piece of advice. Be sure not to talk too much. You want to wait a few seconds before each answer. And this not only gives you time to think about the question, it also prevents you from talking over the interviewer. Also, waiting just a few seconds shows that you have carefully considered the question before answering it. However, be sure to keep the waiting time to a natural length.
It seems like there's a very fine balance here.
Yeah, it can be for sure. Basically, the phone interview can be compared to a dance. Take time to listen to the music of the conversation. The hiring manager is in the lead, so if he or she wants to lead, then you follow. If they want to follow, then you'll lead.
That's a great analogy. Anything else for us today?
Yep, my final point is this. Remember to be truthful to the moment. Even though you have carefully prepared the space and have ensured that nothing distracts you, life can happen. Maybe your neighbor gets his new drum set delivered, or the Girl Scouts come to your door to sell you cookies. Simply be truthful. If you get distracted, briefly explain the situation and remember that your openness will most likely be appreciated. If you don't acknowledge the distraction, that's worse. The interviewer might wonder, what's that noise in the background? Or think that you're not paying attention. So acknowledge what happened, briefly explain, and then refocus. You and the interviewer might enjoy a laugh about it.
And being able to laugh communicates that you're comfortable in your own skin. Another element of confidence. John, thanks so much for those tips.
My pleasure, Daniela.
Just remember, the phone interview is a business conversation. It's happening in real life. If you're well prepared and you have practiced your skills, then you can relax and be at your confident best. We'll see you in the next video with tips on how to manage the conversation.